The Flarn Technarchy's orbital research platform, designation SMUG-17, hovered above Earth like a tax audit, unwelcome, condescending, and entirely convinced of its own importance. Inside, a conference of over-credentialed alien scientists hovered around a containment pod that looked like a high-end blender and chirped excitedly in triplicate tones. Inside the pod sat Ellie Briggs, 7 years old, legs crossed, arms folded, with a look that said, bored at a dentist appointment. Chief Snorb Glax, head of interplanetary test subjects and unchecked hubris, adjusted his ceremonial clipboard, which doubled as both status symbol and, inexplicably, a remote control, and addressed his team through his voice amplifier, which made everything he said sound like it was narrated by a smug goose. Observe, colleagues. The human larva, despite exposure to tranquilizer mist Delta-7, remains alive and articulate. He tapped the glass. Ellie yawned and asked in perfect Flarnish, "Are we done here? Or is this one of those alien midlife crisis things?" The team gasped. One technician dropped their Hypo-Stabby 9000 onto their own foot, screaming in 3 tones of beige. "She speaks the sacred frequencies," someone squeaked. "That's biologically—" "Impossible, I know, Ellie." "Finished. Maybe you guys should have read the fine print. Or my lunchbox." Her pink metal lunchbox, still in the pod with her, bore the scrawled words, "Property of Ellie Briggs. If found, return to Mom before galactic incident." The Flarn didn't read Earth cursive. Meanwhile, across the stars and through several ignored treaties, Commander Jenna Briggs slammed her hand into a console that had dared to load a PDF slower than necessary. Aboard her stolen one-woman escape cruiser, callsign Parental Rage, she snarled at the blinking wormhole generator she duct-taped to the hull. It hummed with the volatile promise of both physics violations and minor war crimes. Her eyes, narrowed like a sniper's scope with a migraine, scanned the Flarn frequency spectrum until she heard the word vivisection and launched herself through a dimensional loophole with all the subtlety of a mother storming into a school board meeting armed with receipts. Jenna Briggs didn't travel through wormholes. She punched her way across them. Somewhere, in the legal void between realities, space-time filed a complaint. Back on SMUG-17, the coffee machine exploded. Again. "We've reached anomaly event." "Number 42, Glax declared shakily, reading off a tablet that was rapidly melting. "Quantum irregularities, scanners offline, fridge smells like ozone and guilt." The lab lights flickered, alarms blared in a minor key, and Ellie just sat there watching them unravel like amateurs on a cooking show. "She's destabilizing." "The molecular harmony of our systems," a Flarn screamed, clinging to the ceiling like a panicked ceiling fan. "Or," Ellie said, "you guys built your tech with a frequency clash. Rookie move." Somewhere deep in the structure, a klaxon shrieked, and then, boom! A human-shaped missile of righteous fury tore through the lab ceiling and landed in a pile of Flarn documentation, which promptly caught fire out of shame. Jenna Briggs stood up, rolled her shoulders, and took in the chaos like a chef eyeing a ruined kitchen. "You abducted my kid," she said flatly. "You better have snacks." One of the interns fainted. Glax raised his clipboard like a shield. "Well, we didn't know she was yours. It was for research." "Buddy," Jenna interrupted, drawing a combat knife that had its own service record. "Your research is about to include human disassembly procedures." Ellie beamed. "Hi, Mom." Jenna didn't smile. She never did in combat, but her tone was 1 decibel warmer. "They feed you?" "Kind of. One of them tried to give me something called protein fog." "You eat it?" Threw it back in his face. "Good girl." Then Jenna kicked a desk into a containment unit and muttered, "Let's break stuff until they explain how to undo this mess." The emergency protocols tried to engage. They were met with bullets and profanity. Jenna Briggs was not a diplomat. She was an extinction-level parental response wrapped in tactical armor and caffeine-deprived fury. And this? This was just part one. The warm-up. The foreplay of galactic regret. Because somewhere, deep in the shadows of Jenna's bloodline, and Ellie's glowing eyes, something ancient stirred, watching, waiting, and probably laughing its void butt off. The Technarchy of Flarn had protocols for emergencies. Protocol 7.1, Unruly Specimen Displays Intelligence, involved a lot of button-pushing and euphemisms. Protocol 9.4, Specimen's Mother Breaches Dimensional Firewall Armed with Tactical Crowbar, was unwritten, which explained why Chief Snorb Glax was currently crawling under a desk, whimpering into his backup clipboard while alarms screamed in a language known only to stressed-out photocopiers. Across the lab, Commander Jenna Briggs moved like a thunderclap, wrapped in tactical mesh. She ducked a spray of containment foam, flung a lab drone into a gravity recycler, and casually stomped on something expensive-looking with the heel of her combat boot. Ellie stood at the center of it all, calm as a monk, watching her mom dismantle centuries of Flarn science with the focused intensity of someone avenging a cancelled PTA meeting. They tried to scan my brain with a flute, Ellie noted, deadpan. A flute? Jenna grunted, flipping over a control panel. Great. Alien nerds and their jazz obsessions. At that moment, a squad of Flarn response officers in bioceremonial armor, which resembled rejected cosplay outfits, burst into the lab, their energy spears pointed and their nerves visibly unraveling. Commander Jenna Briggs, stand down. You are in violation of... Jenna fired a pulse round into the nearest one's foot and replied, Your dress code? Absolutely. The squad panicked and opened fire, which was a mistake of historic proportions. She dodged behind an anti-grav console, threw a sonic mine into their midst, and in the same breath yelled, Ellie, eyes shut. There was a bang, a burst of light, and 7 Flarn officers hit the floor like wet noodles at a clown funeral. Jenna stepped over them, brushing off smoke. So much for first contact. You okay, kiddo? Ellie nodded and muttered, They still owe me pudding. As the smoke cleared, a distorted hum filled the air, and the lab's ceiling began to crackle with unstable spatial energy. Ellie looked up, blinked once, and the room's lights surged like they were trying to flee the building. Monitors shattered. Air ducts wept. A robotic assistant combusted into polite fire. We've got a problem, Ellie said, unusually serious. Something's following me, through me. Jenna raised an eyebrow and crouched beside her daughter. Define something. Void spawn, Ellie whispered. Part of me. Dad's side. The part that doesn't like being caged. For the first time since landing, Jenna hesitated. Not out of fear, but calculation. So that's why you didn't vaporize the walls with your brain earlier? Didn't want to wreck their cafeteria. They had good napkins. The mother-daughter duo exchanged a glance. Calm, familiar, devastating. Just then, the chief, Science Overseer of Smug 17, appeared via emergency hologram, his 3 eyes twitching in triple panic. You have no idea what you're unleashing. That child is a dimensional anomaly. We must contain her before what? Jenna asked, cracking her neck. Before she starts asking real questions about your ethics board. The hologram sputtered. She could unravel entire systems of order. Buddy, Jenna said, slinging her rifle over her shoulder. She's 7. If your empire's that easy to unravel, maybe it deserves it. With a flick of her fingers, Ellie lifted the containment field's core from its housing, using nothing but a sideways glance. It hovered, twisted like a slow tornado, then blinked out of existence. The emergency lockdowns failed in sequence, one by one, each accompanied by a robotic voice stating, Oops. Ellie turned to her mom. We should probably leave. This place is going to implode in about 8 thoughts. Jenna didn't ask what that meant. She just grabbed her daughter, slung her across one arm like a gym bag full of attitude, and sprinted toward the docking bay. Along the corridor, Flarn drones begged for mercy in 5 languages. One even tried to apologize in interpretive dance. before exploding into jazz. The wormhole drive Ellie had smuggled into the station using quantum misdirection was now activated and humming like a bored god clearing its throat. Behind them, the facility trembled as Flarn scientists updated their last wills, deleted their LinkedIn profiles, and prayed to whatever deity governed bad ideas. "We're almost there," Jenna said, sweat pouring down her temple, eyes scanning for hostiles. Ellie pointed to a side corridor. "Shortcut through the xenobotany lab. Smells like broccoli, but fewer laser traps." They ducked through it, only to find a mutated plant hybrid trying to high-five Jenna with a vine. She sliced it in half with a utility knife and kept moving. Alarms now played smooth jazz, Flarn culture's version of a death knell. As they reached the wormhole chamber, a final team of elite Flarn scholars, armed with thesis cannons and smug expressions, stood in their way. One of them raised a projector and declared, "We will debate you into submission." Jenna didn't break stride. Wrong mom. She pulled a pin, lobbed a sarcasm grenade, and walked through the resulting explosion of footnotes and crying. The wormhole opened with a violent whoosh that smelled faintly of cinnamon and apocalypse. Jenna looked down at Ellie. "You sure? We've disabled their ability to track us?" Ellie smirked. "Yup, I replaced their nav core with a Tamagotchi. They're trying to feed it a PhD." Without another word, they stepped through the portal. The lab behind them folded in on itself, accompanied by a final automated message. "Congratulations, you have been Briggsed." The wormhole spat them out with the grace of a drunken blender, landing Jenna and Ellie on the surface of Flarn Prime, the bureaucratic capital of the Technarchy, and coincidentally, the place most in need of immediate evacuation. They landed in the middle of a diplomatic plaza shaped like a spiraling tax form, right beneath a statue of Supreme Auditor Razik the Redundant, known for inventing triple permit authorization for sneeze-related procedures. Jenna rolled to her feet, eyes scanning the alien skyline of obsidian spires, floating document hubs, and judgmental drones. Ellie, brushing cosmic static off her pigtails, blinked. "We overshot, didn't we?" Jenna grunted. "Yup. Welcome to Flarn HQ. Time to give their central command a motherly visit." A crowd had already gathered. Flarn citizens in perfectly ironed lab coats, data bureaucrats mid-latte, and a tourist group from the Tri-Binary Bureau standing slack-jawed at the sight of a human woman drop-kicking the planet's ornamental shrubbery. "It's her," someone whispered. "The Earth woman, the maternal projectile." Jenna didn't waste time. She walked directly toward the main governmental tower, which looked like a 300-story filing cabinet designed by someone with a fetish for over-regulation, her boots clanging with righteous intent. Ellie followed, calmly chewing a piece of gum she found in her emergency snack pouch. As Flarn guards swarmed to intercept, Jenna pulled out her rifle and announced, "This is a diplomatic visit. Say something stupid, and I'll file your spine. Under miscellaneous." The guards hesitated, some from fear, others from the sheer absurdity of a human quoting galactic regulation while aiming a gun the size of a sofa. Inside the tower, chaos bloomed like a bureaucratic ulcer. Council members argued about emergency protocol amendments, while drones tried to file insurance claims for things that hadn't exploded yet. The High Assembly of Quantum Oversight, a pompous hive of legalese wrapped in arrogance, convened in Kemaibastina. Panic as Jenna and Ellie stomped through metal detectors that immediately exploded in protest. "You're trespassing on sacred legislative soil!" a Flarn official shrieked as they reached the main chamber. Jenna shot the plaque that said, "No shoes, no service, no humans," and responded, "Consider me barefoot and very unfriendly." The council's head, Chancellor Vrib, floated forward in his hover chair of self-importance, tentacles bristling with indignation. "We are a peaceful, highly intellectual species, and you've committed an intergalactic offense by destroying—" "Your kidnap dungeon?" "Yeah, I also spit in your coffee dispenser. It was personal." Jenna cocked her rifle with the casual menace of someone flipping a breakup text into a flamethrower. Vrib stuttered. "The child is anomalous. We had to contain her." "Ellie, stepped forward, eyes glowing faintly, the air around her beginning to ripple with silent fury. "You poked me with 17 different probes, injected me with glowing goo, and made me listen to a 12-hour PowerPoint about your enlightened taxation model. I didn't vaporize you then because Mom wasn't here yet. But now..." She raised her hand, and the lights flickered like a thunderstorm made of regret. "Now I'm annoyed." Every Flarn present, regardless of rank, instinctively tried to hide behind paperwork. The temperature dropped. The walls began to whisper unsettling things, like you forgot to file your temporal variance claim, and the void is hungry for your credentials. Ellie's power leaked across dimensions like coffee across a keyboard, rewriting gravity and making several office plants evolve into sentient complaints. Jenna, utterly unfazed, placed a comforting hand on her daughter's shoulder. "Steady, hun. Let 'em sweat first." Vrib squealed and activated the Council's last resort, Project Politeness, a device designed to pacify violent beings through overwhelming etiquette. It blasted the room with a psychic wave of compliments, passive-aggressive apologies, and perfumed bureaucrat speak. Unfortunately for Vrib, Jenna had been through Navy SEAL sensitivity training and 2 decades of PTA meetings. She was immune. "Cute attempt," she said, shooting the projector and tossing Ellie a piece of chocolate. "Snack break?" Ellie nodded. "After this." Then, with a flick of her tiny wrist, she tore open a rift in the ceiling, revealing the stars above, twinkling, blinking, and witnessing the Flarn Technarchy absolutely losing their minds. "Consider this my resignation from being your science project," she said, her voice layered with something ancient, echoing with eons. "Effective immediately." Jenna, ever the multitasker, uploaded a virus to the Flarn central server while the Council quivered, replacing every data node with images of Earthcats giving disapproving looks. The final insult? She edited the Flarn planetary entry in the Galactic Archive to read, "Species prone to arrogance, allergic to moms. Caution, do not provoke during school pickup hours." With sirens wailing and Flarn scholars diving into filing cabinets for cover, Jenna took Ellie's hand and walked out through the central atrium like it was parent-teacher night. As they approached the landing platform where an extraction beacon now glowed with wormhole energy, Ellie looked up and asked, "Can we go home now?" Jenna smiled, a rare, slightly terrifying thing. "Yeah, kiddo, let's go. I've got laundry, you've got homework, and the galaxy's got trauma." Behind them, the central tower cracked down the middle, not from structural failure, but from sheer cosmic embarrassment. The Flarn had dared to mess with Earth's most sacred force, an angry mother, and now the whole galaxy would learn the hard way. Some things you just don't abduct. The extraction beacon flared to life, swirling open a wormhole lined with colors the human eye wasn't built to process and probably wasn't cleared to perceive without an interdimensional permit. Jenna and Ellie stood on the Flarn landing platform, hair tousled by subspatial winds, as the last few resistance drones fluttered in, took one look at the scene, the glowing child, the armed-to-the-teeth mom, and the smoking ruin of the Technarchy's grand bureaucratic council, and quietly turned around, citing early retirement in their exit logs. But the Flarn weren't done being stupid. From orbit, the Overseers had authorized one final response: the activation of the Protocol Omega Sanitation Enforcer, a planetary defense AI designed to neutralize existential threats and/or improperly formatted tax filings. The sky above them shimmered with ominous intent as a massive disc-shaped construct descended, part weapon, part complaint department, all ego. It began charging its core, projecting a deep voice across the city in fluent legalese. Unregistered maternal combatant detected, child entity classified, reality contaminant. Resolution, total restructuring, initiating stern letter phase. Jenna raised her weapon and aimed at the monolith, but Ellie touched her arm. "Nah," she said. "This one's mine." Her eyes pulsed white-blue, her fingertips sparking with silent rage and cosmic sass. With a slow breath, she floated an inch off the ground, the very air curving around her as if embarrassed to get in her way. "Attention," Ellie said, her voice amplified not by tech, but by whatever ancient mischief pulsed in her DNA. "This is your final notice. You abducted the wrong species, you insulted the wrong mom, and you just flarned up." She extended both hands and unleashed a wave of energy that made quantum particles rethink their life choices. The sanitation AI's monologue faltered. "Error. Heartbeat pattern detected in primary weapon. System. Emotion. What?" Then it was gone. Unmade, rewritten, perhaps sent to a dimension where all meetings are optional and coffee is eternal. Silence fell. The Flarn Empire, once the galaxy's smug overachiever, now echoed with only the soft ping of crashing servers and the faint weeping of someone whose clipboard had melted into modern art. Jenna exhaled slowly, then walked up beside her daughter. "So, that a void spawn puberty thing, or are you just showing off?" Ellie shrugged. "Bit of both, still figuring it out. I might have just accidentally erased their tax code." "Good. That was offensive anyway." With the portal finally stable, the pair turned, walking into its golden whirl. As the wormhole swallowed them, Flarn Prime was left behind, confused, singed, and now a historical example of why you don't provoke Earth's maternal defense systems. Back on Earth, they materialized in their backyard with a soft pop and a faint scent of scorched bureaucracy. Jenna dropped her gear, cracked her neck, and headed inside to make coffee so strong it scared the microwave. Ellie followed, stopping only to pet the cat and give it a piece of alien jerky. On the news, a minor tremor in the global gravitational field was briefly mentioned and promptly ignored by everyone not wearing tinfoil hats. As Jenna settled onto the couch, sipping victory in a mug labeled "World's Okayest Parent," she looked at Ellie and smirked. "So, what did we learn today?" Ellie thought for a moment. "That aliens are bad at snacks, never trust a guy with a clipboard, and that if you mess with Earth moms, the universe will need therapy?" Jenna nodded. "Exactly. Now do your homework." Ellie groaned, but grabbed her tablet anyway, flipping open a lesson on advanced math, where the equations looked disturbingly familiar to the ones she'd just fried in the Flarn Council's master servers. Somewhere, across the stars, 100 civilizations updated their planetary travel advisories to include one bright red tag: Earth, do not engage without backup, snacks, or a lawyer. And under Jenna Briggs' name in the galactic database, just one entry: cause of collapse. Maternal event.